I think in university was like a friends and family screening.
That makes more sense then.
He was a kid that came in and watched The Beautiful Mind, and he was literally a teenager giving this note to Ron Howard.
Which makes Ron Howard all the more asshole to remember that him as a teen and he's berating him. All right, studio heads, we are back with the studio episode 3. This episode's called The Note, and it's all about Matt Remick trying to give a note to the illustrious Ron Howard.
Yeah, it shows the heart of the show again, which is you get this one character and he's at the crossroads between creative energies and executive studio energies. And like also maybe the third road, which is the intense egos of everyone involved who rightly have probably big egos because they're really great at what they do. But how do you tell someone no who's so used to hearing yes from everyone?
And it's this moment where the episode starts and they're all in the screening room on the campus of Continental Studios, which is fun to go to the screening rooms. I have one on the Sony Animation lot. I've been to the one on the Sony lot, been to screeners on Fox. It is like a smaller theater that they'd have to be able to go and sit down and have a real theatrical experience. So we have Matt, we have Sal, we have Maya, Catherine Hahn, we have Quinn, who's Chase Sweet Wonders, and we get to watch with them as they're watching Dave Franco in this movie with Anthony Mackie, Alphabet City.
Yeah.
So the movie is just this love letter from Ron Howard that's half part Taxi Driver meets Drive meets something Scorsese or otherwise. Anyways, it's this beautiful kind of movie, and we get to watch along with the team from Continental as they go from excited at the opening to loving it to crying to, oh my God, why is this movie so freaking long, to just shoot me at the end. And I kind of love watching it with them because we've all sat through movies like this. Yeah. We're just going to call it The Irishman. There were moments where I was like, oh my gosh, pièce de resistance. And other moments I was like, he should have stopped 2 hours ago. Like, what are we still doing watching this? So it must be fun, and it's fun to see it from the studio's perspective of getting this movie from a beloved director.
And then, of course, the note being that the last 45 minutes of the movie are unnecessary and need to be cut, which within the movie, I mean, we don't see the entire movie, but we see enough of the movie. It's Dave Franco and Anthony Mackie in some dramedy comedy action thing. And then the last 40 minutes is like Anthony Mackie and some kid at a motel staring up at the moon for nephew. I don't know. So Anthony Mackie and some kid staring at the moon in some weird dreamlike montage sequence for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're both creative people. Like, we've both written things. You can tell when something is really important to the person who made a thing. Mm-hmm. But then you also know when something is just not serving the story.
Yeah, I'd written a pilot episode for this new show, and I had my creative partner going through it, and he was like, what's this? This does not need to be here. It doesn't make any sense. Who would even do this? It's so stupid. And I was like, don't cry. Not personal. And I was like, you're right. It's so stupid. Who would ever do that?
This is dumb.
And I can't imagine being someone who has a gigantic filmography and just hit after hit, getting a note from some sweaty studio exec who's like, this is stupid, take it out. And we get the note, and I guess for everyone who's listening, you've already watched the episode, the whole last motel scene is about Ron Howard's cousin who died. And so it's a love letter to him, and it's an homage to him. But it sucks. It makes the movie worse. And I just love the ABC, the studio exec who's like, we cannot release it this way. It will bomb, and I will be at fault for not giving the note. We have Ron Howard as the bad guy and a bully, which I just love in this role. And in between, we have Anthony Mackie playing both sides. He's a producer and doesn't want to release a stinker, and he's one of the stars of the movie. At the same time, he can't piss off Ron Howard. And so he's also like buddying up when Ron Howard is just roasting Matt in the room. And I love kind of having those ABC 1, 2, 3 of like, where are we as the audience? We're kind of an Anthony Mackie spot of, well, he's got a good point, but that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun. I think one of my favorite parts of this episode is watching Ron Howard be a bully because he seemed like such a kind guy, you know? And it's hard to know what's real and what's not. And if I had to guess, this is Ron Howard playing into a character version of himself because, I don't know, he just seems kind of this sweetly father figure. He almost has Mormon-like energy where I'm just like, this guy's so kind. But to watch him be a bully to Matt Remick is so fun.
Yeah, it's funny because there are a lot of other directors that are so talented at their craft, and you hear stories later, they are assholes. Now, on the flip side, you have people who you're like, he's probably an asshole, and you have good experiences. I work with someone who was a producer on a lot of Quentin Tarantino's movies, and this guy is talented, and he's weird, and he's nerdy, and he's got a foot fetish, but he's also an asshole at times, because I've seen it on interviews, you know?
Yeah.
And instead, she was like, oh, no, no, no. On set, every member of the crew was family, and he made sure everyone knew their role and did it right, but also was so good and caring to everyone, especially the women, to make sure they felt good and right, and no one's watching a scene they don't have to watch, anything else. And
Huh.
he was amazing. And I'm like, Tarantino, the blood guy, licking feet. What are you talking about? So, yeah, to your point, I think this is Ron Howard playing another director who there are so many that are assholes like that. But, you know,
Hard to
in a
say.
fun way.
I think what it also is really good about this is there's a universality to the story of having to tell someone no when you're a people pleaser. That's really hard. I'm a people pleaser. I
Yep.
don't like telling people no. I hate when other people make me have to tell them no because I'm like, can't you just tell it this is not the right thing to do? Why are you making me have to tell you no? You should just know not to do this. And so this episode really hit home for me on that because I don't like having to tell people no. And you can tell that Matt Remick does not want to tell people no, especially Ron Howard, who has made great movies before. And of course, the joke being that in universe, Matt Remick as a kid went to a screening for A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
And there was a section after the movie where people could give thoughts to Ron Howard. And he gave the note of, hey, what if everyone knew from the get go that Paul Bettany's character wasn't real? which is a really dumb note because it upsets the entirety of A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
But then the part of the joke in the movie was Matt Remick is like, I was a kid. Ron Howard doesn't remember that I did that. This was 20 years ago or something. And of course, Ron Howard remembers
Yeah.
that Matt Remick gave him that stupid that note. And then he's like, well, so I'm not going to take any note that you give me seriously because of how stupid you were to give me that note as a child. And it doesn't matter that he was a child when he gave it to him.
Well, see, and I thought he meant he was like a kid at the studio, like 90s. It's been 30 years. He was like 20 years old or something.
I
But
interpreted it as he was like 15 years old.
I'm thinking Beautiful Mind, 1997. Seth Rogen right now, 40s. Okay, you're right. He is a teenager at that point.
Yeah, because I think in university it was like a friends and family screening.
That makes more sense then.
He was a kid that came in and watched The Beautiful Mind, and he was literally a teenager giving this note to Ron Howard.
Which makes Ron Howard all the more asshole to remember that him as a teen and he's berating him. But I love how poignant that moment is in the meeting where Mackie and the whole team's there with Ron Howard and they're discussing this motel scene. And that's when Ron Howard finally brings it out. He waits till the right moment and he goes, I remember you because Matt confesses to Sal and Quinn and Maya earlier. He's like, I gave a dumb note to Ron, but I don't remember. I don't think he tells him exactly what the note is. And then when it finally comes out, then everyone in the room has to laugh at him like, okay, that was the note? That's extremely stupid.
You're stupid.
Yeah. And even us in the audience were like, no sympathy here. That's a pretty bad note. I do love earlier that he's trying to get everyone else, like you're saying, people pleaser Matt, trying to get everyone else to do it. And Maya won't do it. She's in marketing. Sal's like, I'm not freaking doing it. You're the number one. You took the job. I don't have to give the note. And then he goes in there and tries to give a note, and he's like, well, my cousin died at a motel, so I don't want the motel scene in there because of it. And they're like, huh. And Anthony Mackie comes back in and calls him on it. Your cousin didn't even die there? And it just is such a fun ramping up of the energy for him to be like, I know it sucks. I don't want it to be in there. And then Quinn being just Twitter painted by Anthony Mackie, I'm like, relatable. We all know there's someone like that for
Relatable,
us.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. With his fake cousin, Ronaldo. Why Ronaldo? I don't know.
That's funny. But I think this is one of the episodes where I started realizing that Seth Rogen falling into things was going to be a running gag throughout the entire show. Because you get it in the Warner episode where I think he falls through a table. And then this one, I think he also falls through a table.
Ron Howard pushes him and he, collapses.
Yeah. Ron Howard.
All the better.
So yeah, as an audience member, just keep your eye out because this is going to be a running gag. And it's just, I don't know. I don't get like, it's so monkey minded, like teenage boy. Like you just love watching people fall down and break things. I love it.
You text me and you're like, Will Seth Rogen falling into things not be funny this season? Like,
That's what I love about this show, honestly, is that it combines highbrow with lowbrow so well.
yeah.
Because you get the highbrow, you get the long shots, you get the really like meticulously crafted dialogue, you get the great sets, the great cinematography, great costuming, but then you also get just, oh, a man falls through a table gag, and you just get it over and over again, and it's so lowbrow, and it just works every time.
I heard someone say recently, they're like, oh, we're just so far beyond the Three Stooges. We could not go back and watch those and laugh. And instead, I'm like, you know what, though? This is Three Stooges inspired. You're
Actually,
dosing it in
maybe
there.
they were onto something, and maybe we should go
Yeah.
back and recapture some of that Three Stooges stuff.
Because it's not even unnecessary, it's believable enough. When Ron
Yeah.
Howard gets the note from Maddie, and Maddie finally stands up and says, no, you're wrong. You're ruining this movie. The motel scene's unnecessary. And Ron says, fuck you. My cousin died, you fucking suit, and throws him through the table. That felt genuine, you know? It felt like a really angry director
It did.
doing what he'd do.
Did.
We talk about cinematography in each of these episodes. The cinematography, as everyone is left, beat up, busted up, bloodied up, Maddie goes and sits outside of Continental Studios, and this song, If You Could Read My Mind by Gordon Lightfoot, starts playing. It's this contemplative moment. He's looking up at the star in the sky, and it's this moment of small nothingness. And then he gets the call afterwards where Ron Howard apologizes. And it's a great way to keep it closer to reality. Of he's not just total tyrant and goes off the rail. He's
Yeah.
like, hey, I overreacted. You give me stupid notes. I was mad. It's close to my heart. But you're right. We can cut it. And it's this moment of, as the audience, we have a collective, like a big sigh of relief, but also we're
Hmm.
still excited by the fact of he's not safe. Our main character is not God. He's the
Yeah.
blundering Captain Kirk of this story. He's going to get beat up
Yeah.
every episode, and we love it.
Yeah. Well done. It was a good episode.
Good episode. Let's wrap it up there. Give number 4 a watch. It's called The Missing Reel. How do you feel about the episode 4?
It was good. It was funny.
Good. It's fun. It's a little something different. It's a little
Yeah.
stylized, so we'll be excited to talk about that next time. And until next week, keep watching good movies and TV.